Order the July 19th, 2022 meeting of Ag and Rural Affairs. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes of the March 15th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Second item is public appearances for non-agenda items. Is there anyone here to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll move on to agenda review. Any changes to the agenda, Deanna?
No changes to the agenda from staff.
Okay. Agenda item 5A, rezone request 2455-22 by Mark Jones, agent for Jones Family Sign Farm Trust, and Andy and Kelly Lowry to rezone properties from AX to RL, AS and AX districts to separate two existing residential homes onto their own parcels located on South Sighing Road. Mark, why don't you start out and kind of tell us what's going on and why?
Okay. My daughter wants to buy the house she's lived in for the last 10 years. She wants to do a major remodel project, but did not want to do it if she didn't own the house. So that's really what drove this. There was some discrepancy in the sale of the parcel to the south of us, so we had to come in to straighten out that property line anyway. So several things led to this. And then we decided to separate our house for mortgage purposes. You used to be able to separate it for mortgage purposes only, and when the mortgage was paid off, it went back to the farm. That way you could take advantage of the lower rate. Well, they changed that law. So anyway, so it has to be its own parcel to qualify for a mortgage loan that can be sold on the market, and that's more advantageous to the financials, and it usually gives you a lower interest rate. So that's really what drove it. It's taking two lots. It's buying 10 acres from the neighbors. They will go from Ag X to Ag Small. When that originally was created, Ag Small, I don't believe, was an option for them. And anyway, that fits their use because they don't have a separate, they don't have any splits or anything like that. It's just Ag Small will qualify. And so everything, the land will stay, of ours will be Ag exclusive. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's not, I don't believe it's controversial at all. So the only issue I have, and Deanna and I have talked about this at length, the Public Works Review, it requires us to hook onto city water. And there are several parcels. The parcel next to us was not required to hook onto city water. Because it was part of the farm at the time, even though it was separate lots, they weren't required. And there are several others. There's the Oderico property. When that was built, was not required to hook onto city water, even though their land touched the city water. It was not required. And the Opperman property on Irish Lane is a classic example. They built a brand new house. They separated, there was an existing lot. They added some more land off of the Stillman farm. They were told to drill a new well, and they were not required to hook on to city water, even though city water was across the street, same as it is at our place. So it's not anything that has not been, a waiver hasn't been given. We have cattle. They're not at our farm right now, but they will be hopefully next year. And to put cattle on chlorinated water is really not a good idea. So we will be asking for that to be waived that we don't have to hook on.
Okay, thanks.
What is the rationale for having him hook up to city water?
By code, and this is a public works requirement, that anytime a lot is created and zoned residential, it has to get connected to city water. So what's happening is Mark is creating 2 new residential lots at these 2 existing houses. So I have been in discussion with Public Works. Public Works is looking into this some more. And I've also talked with the city attorney. We're just going to have to kind of work through Public Works requirements and figure out what that waiver would look like. It's not something that I can grant, of course.
So they're not new houses, they're just new parcels. So that's where I wonder, I mean, whether Public Works can provide a little bit more clarification on that. Because it would seem like if a new house was being built, that would be different. But that's not what's happening here.
0 cents. It's like redoing what's already done. I don't know, maybe our committee could like come together and make a suggestion, like as a committee in a whole.
I think, you know, one of the other issues, though, is that, I mean, there are times when you have an area that has not been served by water, by city water and sewer, and when you run it through there, you do expect people to hook up to it.
Okay.
So I think we need to be consistent in what we're doing, although
Sure.
this is not,
It's a different situation. It's an existing house.
yeah, there's no city sewer out there, correct? I
It's
don't
in the
think there
country.
is, so.
I don't believe so.
There is not.
Okay, Deanna, want to give us a staff report?
I certainly do. Mark did a very good job. I will just kind of summarize some of my notes here. The proposal is to rezone and subdivide to create one existing family structure and then the original farmstead into 2 residential parcels. Then there's approximately 10 acres that will be transferred from the Laurie farm to the Jones farm, which means that the Laurie farm is the remainder of their lot will have to be rezoned to small lot agriculture because it will fall beneath the 35-acre requirement in agriculture exclusive. So the staff evaluation is that the properties are outside the urban service area, and the proposed development does not require the use of, the proposed subdivision does not require the use of a claim. The proposed rezoning and CSM would remove approximately 32 acres from the exclusive agricultural zoning, plus the 2 1-acre residential lots. But to my knowledge, the Lauries currently are not using the Farmland Preservation Tax Credit Program.
That is correct.
So staff recommends approval of the rezone request with 4 conditions. Normal condition is no other permit is waived. Council approval of the CSM. The new rezone shall comply with all the requirements of the zoning districts, and applicant would have to work with the Public Works in order to meet their requirements. I won't read all of the CSM requirements, but there are, staff recommends approval of the CSM with 12 conditions.
Thanks, Deanna. So I have one other comment with regard to the well requirement, number 9 in the CSM. If these lots are outside of the urban service area, how would that be applicable? It would seem like, for that reason too, the well that's out there serves the properties on the other side of the road, I think. But
They do serve the lots on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
And that system was put in originally when it was installed. Now, it just was enhanced and it was looped into the main system. But the pipe size of that system
Yeah.
was designed small, so that there was no growth planned in this when they sized the pipe. They sized the pipe so to restrict growth.
Yeah, and I know that to be a fact. We owned a house on East Hill, up at the end of the cul-de-sac on East Hill.
I remember.
And it
Had an
was
awful
not on that loop because there wasn't enough capacity to handle it, so it had its own well.
Yep.
Both of those houses up at the end of that cul-de-sac did, so. Now it's looped, so I guess perhaps it's a different situation now. We don't have the capacity issue, but, so Deanna, how logistically do we deal with this? If we're gonna get a ruling from Public Works, this is going to Plan Commission this evening also. Does it still, there's an aspect that needs to go to council as well, correct?
Yes.
So it could
this-
be removed at that point if Public Works recommends some sort of a waiver.
Right. You all could recommend a revision on that particular condition. One thing you could just recommend that existing structures would need to be connect to municipal water within 90 days, blah, 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 unless a waiver is granted by Public Works.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
And it can go through the process, and the
Yeah.
process can't continue unless that's done. And for my house, I will not hook onto city water, and I will not put cattle on chlorinated water. If you talk to the experts, that's not something you want to do.
They won't even drink it.
Well, they will, but,
I mean, horses won't. Sorry, that was
Yeah.
sorry.
but it's,
Okay.
it's just not a good idea.
All right, so we should have just discussion within, you're abstaining then from.
Yes,
Board
you
of
will
Control.
need.
I have to
Okay,
abstain.
so let's just, any further discussion from the committee? If not, do we have a motion? George?
I guess I would agree with that there should be a waiver granted, especially because it's on the edge of all this development. I mean, there's ag land there that I see, and existing homes. I don't see why it shouldn't just be grandfathered in, that it's not a requirement that they hook on the city water.
Okay, so the item that we're on right now is the rezone. The first item, and then the certified survey is a separate item. So do we have a motion on the rezone?
I'll make a motion to pass the rezone.
With the four conditions?
I'm looking for that.
4.
Yeah, there's 4 staff conditions.
Should I just add that? I'll make a motion to pass the rezone with the 4 recommended staff conditions.
Yes.
Second from Randy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Let the record show that I abstained.
Motion passes. The next item is certified survey 2453-22. Any further discussion with regard to the certified survey or any questions there? Everyone understands what's happening? If not, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the request for a certified survey map 245322
The conditions?
with the conditions as stated, unless granted by Public Works.
So number 9 would be waived if granted by Public Works?
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show I abstained, please.
Okay, motion passes.
Just an FYI for everybody on the committee. My daughter's lot, which will go into her name if this passes, has a deed restriction on it that it has to be sold. First right of refusal goes back to the trust, so she can't sell it out with, it has to go back to the trust.
Okay.
And the same with our lot, that can't be sold out privately, it has to be sold back to the trust.
And your farm has one remaining split?
It does,
Yeah, okay. So we're not creating a split by combining
correct.
these lands to get 35 acres. There already is a split
Yep.
that the farm has
Right.
available. Yes, that's what I was wondering about. I drove out there and Lois was explaining it to me, and then I ran into Mark, and it was good to get an explanation of that, so. Okay.
Thank you
great.
very much.
Thanks, Mark. All right, next item on the agenda is public hearing and rezone request, RZ 2459-22 and CS 2460-22 for 5897 Wayland Road. This is for the Lacey Family Irrevocable Trust. Very similar situation to the last item. Tom, or who would like to come up and fill us in on what's going on? Well, I figured you, right? Is the microphone on there?
It's green.
Okay.
Go ahead and pull up a chair. We'll hear you better.
All right. Since my parents passed away last year, we need somebody in the house there, and my daughter and her family would like to be in that house. We're not going to change any of the land or buildings. It's just that they want that small little piece of property to move on to, and the farm will stay farming and in a trust after this gets split up, and
Okay. It's nice that it's staying in the family, too.
yes,
Yep.
Very nice.
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Any questions for Tom?
George?
No questions, George?
No, I think they got their act together. They know what they're doing on this.
My goodness, Tom, you have a Roman at a loss for words.
Hey, I'm not like my sister.
There you go.
She's probably listening, George.
Yeah,
She may be.
I'll stick up for her.
All right. Deanna, do you want to give us a staff report?
So, as mentioned, this is to rezone and subdivide an existing residential structure into its own parcel. This new parcel will be rezoned from exclusive agricultural to low-density residential. So it will abut the existing residential parcel that is also zoned RL. There is, will point out the new parcel and the existing parcel by a previous CSM share of 15-foot ingress and egress easement. And with this CSM, they are dedicating lands to the right-of-way too. So staff recommends approval of the rezone with 4 conditions. And then staff recommends approval of the CSM with 7 conditions.
Tom, have you had a chance to go over the conditions? Do you have any questions about any of them?
I didn't go over all the. Okay,
Okay.
yes. We do have an attorney writing up the legal terminology for the easement for the driveway for MG&E, because there's a pole that's on would be parcel number 2. So that is all in the process right now.
Okay. Deanna, why don't you go through the conditions
Sure.
for the rezone then before we go, just so Tom knows what they are?
You bet. So the first condition, number 1, is no other permit or approval is waived or deemed satisfied except for the approval provided herein. This is our standard statement for number 1. Council approval of the rezone. All outstanding fees and assessments will need to be paid before the city signs the CSM.
Oh, you're on the CS.
Oh, you wanted me to do the rezone?
Yeah, let's do the rezone first. So
Okay,
we're voting
sorry,
first.
I apologize. So for the rezone, number 1 is no other permit or approval is waived or deemed satisfied, except for the approval herein. Council approval of the CSM. And then the properties shall comply with all aspects of the exclusive agricultural zoning district. And then for the new lot created with the low-density residential zoning district. Just pretty standard that your zoning, your future building or development will have to follow the new zoning. And then the applicant's responsibility to satisfy any public works requirements prior to issuance of permits, which I don't think you're gonna need permits.
I don't think we need anything, because there's,
Yeah,
You don't need to hook up to water?
no,
no, not in this case.
no. We're too far out in the sticks.
Had to ask. All right. Any further discussion with regard to the rezone request? Do we have a motion?
Also move.
Okay, so that's the rezone with the 4 conditions as noted?
Correct.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, we all will. I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Yours was unanimous, unlike Mark's.
Mark's,
He had to sit out.
Well, we understand his
Yes.
situation.
Certified survey map 2460-22, there are 7 conditions noted. Deanna, why don't you go through those?
sure thing. So, number 1, no other permit or approval is waived or deemed satisfied except for the approval provided herein. Council approval of the rezone. All outstanding fees and assessments must be paid prior to the city signing the CSM. And then any future residential building sites will be subject to the city's rural residential development criteria and require city review and approval. Concurrence from the utilities, that would be gas, electric, cable, and phone, which I believe you're already working on that concurrence. Very standard, that anytime a CSM comes before the city, we just need to make sure that the utility companies are okay with it. And then, given the underground installation for electric and communications, a restriction shall be recorded on the CSM, just stating that the final grade shall not be altered more than 6 inches without written consent of the utilities involved. Number 7 is label the square footage of each area dedicated right-of-way on the CSM, which is something that. Yeah, I think he did that too already. Yeah, that would be the normal process. Yep.
Okay. So the process then, we have planning commission tonight, and then it would go to council next week, correct?
It will. Yep, both will go, the rezone and the CSM will go to council next Tuesday.
So creating the lot does not, there isn't a split used for that because there was already one used
Correct.
when your house was
Yes.
built. Yep. So there's no additional split being used as a result of this. Okay. Any questions or discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve CS-2460-22 with 7 conditions outlined by staff.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
I think Mark got the second.
Yeah.
Oh. A little faster than you.
Okay,
Sorry.
so Mark's got the second, okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tonight.
Point of order, Chair. That's actually to Deanna. Just looking at the numbers and the alpha characters 5, agenda items, they appear to be off. Am I missing something?
Oh, yes, no, that was my mistake. I grabbed them from the Plan Commission Plan Commission memo, and I didn't change the,
Okay, I just want to make sure I
No.
didn't miss something. All right.
that was
Very
my
good.
error.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item is, E, 5E, which is update of the farmland preservation. Discussion regarding a potential update to Fitchburg's farmland preservation plan. Deanna, I'll let you lead that.
All right, thank you very much. I am gonna try to go grab my guy. This is one of those things that we all as a city and as the committee are gonna have to make some decisions on here sooner than later. So currently, as you might know, Dane County is updating their farmland preservation plan. Their last plan was adopted and certified by the State Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection in 2012. And so Dane County has to go ahead and get their recertification by the end of this year. And so they're planning on having state review. That would be the Department of Agriculture, Transportation, and Consumer Protection starting in August. And the state only, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, the state only certifies county level plans.
So this is considered county level?
Well, what we're talking about first is just the county level plan right now that's happening, that needs to get updated right now. They're in the process of updating the county level plan.
So this is not an update of our plan?
Well, yes, that's
Yes.
where we're gonna get there.
We're part of
All right.
Yes, and you're right, Roger. The city's farmland preservation plan was adopted by the county in 2014 and then certified by the state. That allows us to identify those agricultural exclusive zoning districts and makes the farmers eligible for the farmland preservation tax credits. So what I'm bringing to you all is kind of this discussion about next steps. The county, of course, is working on their plan right now. I literally got an email from the state yesterday saying that they would be open to the potential for Fitchburg to do a similar thing. So what happened was the county went ahead, passed their plan, and then Fitchburg completed our preservation plan, and then it was adopted later and then certified later. My understanding is then back in 2016, 2017, Fitchburg did the agricultural plan. And so that's what I just have a couple pictures of what those two plans look like. One of the things that the state did a quick review on these two plans, and they said, yes, it makes a lot of sense to have Fitchburg to go ahead and update our farmland preservation plan. They said that both plans are solid, but they would need to have updates in terms of data, community input, to bring things back up to where they need to be.
So we need to provide some updated data and we have to get some additional community input?
I think at a bare minimum, I mean, I guess this is what I'm bringing to you all as a discussion item. How extensive would you want to do an update to the plan? Do you envision this to be staff pulls together some extra data, updates the data tables, updates the maps, and away we go? Or would you envision this as a more full-scale plan to update with a series of community engagement pieces, public hearings? What does this look like from your all perspective? The good news is that we just found out yesterday too that we do have an accepted offer for Wade's position, the community development planner. So we should be up to full staff in the planning department here shortly by mid-August. And what I'm looking for is some feedback, what this looks like from your perspective. And it doesn't have to be today. I mean, we can continue this discussion. It doesn't, but.
I think what I would want to see is, you know, if we're going to update something, I guess we need to know what we're updating. What have we got on file now? Mm-hmm. What is our current status? If we'd have that now, at least we know where we're starting from. Mm-hmm. And that was done back in 14 or a long time ago. Mm-hmm. With that information, we can then apply to what we want to do today. So I would suggest if this committee is going to work with this, we need to get a copy of that before we can have a real honest discussion.
Sure.
There is copies in the minutes of the existing.
I think I put the, in your meeting packet, what I
Yeah.
did is I just put the Farmland Preservation Plan from 2014, I believe, in there.
So that for our review.
Yeah, but I'm happy, Roger, to share, to send whatever we need to you.
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of shoot that as around as a separate document, just as a reminder to everyone to go through, read that over, and maybe think about whether anyone wants to recommend that we consider a revision, or are we happy with what we did in 2014? Say it was a long time ago, it doesn't seem like yesterday to me.
Just a blink.
Okay. I can definitely share that.
And once again, what is the deadline on, is it the end of the year that December 31?
Yeah, so we probably would need to have our updates to the county and ready to go to the state October 1st, if we want to meet their cycle. But as you can see, the county did their preservation plan in 2012, and the city came back and did our own, and 2 years later. So I'm my understanding is that the county and the state would allow us to do something similar to that. I don't have any promises or anything set in stone with that, but they certainly allowed it back in 2012. And 2015. I don't envision an update to take that long. I think the real question is this an update of data, tables, maps? Or do you all feel that goals, objectives, policies might need to be reworked? And if that's the case, if we want to really take a look at how over these intervening years that the policies might need to change, the overall direction, goals might need to change, that's going to be a larger public engagement process, a more data-driven process. If that kind of makes sense.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
How often does the state redo this?
The state requires an update to a farmland preservation plan every 10 years.
That's what I thought it was
Yeah,
10
every
years.
10 years, and they need,
So-
so Dane County has to go for recertification this year.
Okay. If you look through it, I think, I have looked through it, and I think we'll find that everything is pretty much within what our guidelines, what we're familiar with. So everybody takes a look at it. Maybe we can look at it next month.
And maybe everyone can just read it over, like Mark says, and just respond back to Deanna. So you'd be working on the statistics anyhow for the update on that.
I think that I think it's important to do some kind of update,
Yep.
just because things have changed in terms of the amount of farmland,
Yeah.
and population, and so I think at the bare minimum, staff is going to need to do, updates to the tables, the maps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if,
Any-
then if there's something that someone wants to discuss, just respond back to Deanna identifying what it is. And then we probably would want to get a meeting to do that and schedule a public hearing at some point also for whatever's being proposed that would be, a substantive change, but I think just to change, update the maps and the statistics, I don't think we probably need a public hearing for that. I don't know.
I think what we'll do is staff will have to do the updates of the
Data.
the data. And once that's done, we'll need to bring it back to you all and council for adoption.
Okay.
And then after, if you all so choose and council so choose to adopt it, then it would go before Dane County, and Dane County would need to adopt it as part of their farmland preservation plan. And then the next step would be state certification.
So it goes, once we suggest any changes or updates, then it goes planning commission, council, as you.
Yeah, you're right. We should go to planning
Then
commission.
goes to
Yeah.
Dane County.
So if we don't have any substantive changes, it'd go to Plan Commission, which that would probably require a public hearing at that level. That's where your public hearing is.
I think we should
Yep.
do.
And if we have something substantive, we may want to decide that we want to have a public hearing. here on
Sure, you
our level,
all
too.
can choose to have a public hearing too.
But our timeline's a little snug, so.
It
little
is,
snug.
yeah, it is very snug, but like I said, I think, just on our staffing level of things, I'm hopeful that even if we have to come and back to Dane County, early next year and say, adopt our plan, and then goes back to the state for certification. I also, from a planning side of things, don't want to push something just to get it done, right? I want to make sure that it's done right.
Well,
And we put a-
it does seem like a short timeline. By the time
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's anything that.
It is a
any
very
major
tight timeline.
moves.
We had a lot of time put into it for the 2014 plan, and I think a lot of us here were involved in that too, so maybe there won't be a lot to look at. Do you anticipate that we're having an August meeting? Is there anything that you're aware of coming up?
I do not
Okay.
have anything that I'm aware of.
If for any reason there's going to be one, let's make sure that we add this to the agenda so that we
Okay.
can discuss it.
Sure.
But if everyone can just get back to Deanna with feedback, we don't want to have discussion among ourselves online, so just get back to Deanna with regard to anything. And then if there's something that, that you think is substantive that should be discussed by the group, we'll schedule a meeting
Yep.
and address it.
Sounds very good.
Okay. Anything else you need on that item?
Not myself, and there's no action for you all.
Okay.
Maybe, can we confirm that there's like not some like waiver or grant or something that we need to meet so we don't miss this cutoff hard deadline? Like, should we check in with the county or the state and just make sure, like, hey, if we're a little late on this, like, is that okay?
I can follow up with my contact at the state.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, because if we wanted to make some changes,
We need a
it would
little
be
more
tough to get
time.
it done by December 31st.
Yeah, just in case.
I just want to make sure that the farmland preservation tax credits aren't at risk for the folks that do use them. So that's the critical, in my mind, that's the critical point.
When do they give us notice that they need this? Seems like they didn't give us a lot of notice.
No, well, of course, there's been staffing changes in the planning department, and I believe that, of course, Dane County, technically, our certification is still good. It's 2014.
Oh, 10.
And so it's really Dane County's pushing this kind of through, and I don't know that the state ever did a formal notification to Fitchburg. I think the notification, but I don't know.
Should we do something to get ours aligned time-wise with this for the future? In other words, if we basically reapprove our 2014 plan, should we reapprove it for an 8-year period so that it coincides, and that it's kind of on our radar to review that,
Yes.
to start looking at that maybe a year in advance or.
Yeah, I think that's
months
a very good idea.
Well, if it's a 10-year plan, theirs runs 10 years. So if we do get this through by the end of the year, we would then comply with the, we would be in step with the,
Yeah, but my thought would be to
If we
put
go
it back
into
on our
next year.
schedule.
Oh, yeah, but
Oh,
so we would be in, if we reinstate it, I'm not saying the word right. If
Yeah.
we, by the end of the year.
we're on their schedule.
we
you're
would-
right, it's gonna take it out 8 years anyhow,
Right.
yeah.
It's gonna, would take it out. That would be, we'd fall into their 10-year program.
Yes.
So
32.
Yep.
We'll be around.
I think everybody will find it familiar when you read it.
Be
over.
somewhere, I hope. Yeah, and I think, after another 10 years, even if we don't have any material changes now, after another 10 years, that's a little further from when it was originally drafted. We probably should be taking, a more careful look at it. Okay. All right, anything further on that item?
Not from myself.
I have one kind of non-agenda thing that I want to bring up, because I think we can all empathize with this. There is a lot of wild parsnip along the roads in Fitchburg, and I don't think a lot of people have any idea how dangerous that stuff is. The city did
100%.
a fantastic job in our neighborhood of coming by and cutting that, and that was really appreciated. But just driving down Sign Road today along where the park is, it's all along there, and people have no idea what they're getting into if they get into that stuff. And it really seems to be just taking over everywhere, and I think we've got to do whatever we can to obliterate this stuff.
Along the Badger State Trail, Seminole Highway, that railroad or bike path right away, it's thick.
Yeah, how many of those bikers
Yeah,
don't know what
And
that
it's-
is?
Exactly.
it's just an insult when everything in there that goes up to seed, and then they mow it and spread the seed.
But we don't maintain
Doesn't
that.
seem
correct?
like a good thing
No,
for
we
the
shouldn't.
rural.
Is that the county that maintains that?
No, actually, it's owned by the DOT, and, well, Fitchburg mows it every year.
Oh, Fitchburg mows it.
But it's owned by the DOT, the bike path, and then the DNR manages, mows along the edges of the Badger State Trail, but they don't mow the whole entire right-of-way, which is huge.
So, but Fitchburg does or nobody does?
No, Fitchburg does,
Fitchburg
but they
does.
usually it's late in the season, that they do it.
And I don't know exactly when that goes to seed. I mean, right now, when I look at it, and I don't really know whether that's the flower or whether the seed pods are forming.
I'm not sure either, but I was told by one gentleman that worked for trails for the DNR and all, and said that a lot of times if they knock it down early, it's done. Now, I know everything's different, like I know burdock is that way sometimes, if you get it before it flowers out and seeds, it slows it down majorly.
Randy?
Is this just a method of cutting it so that you're not exposed to it, or is there a way to eradicate it as well at the same time?
Ooh, eradicating would be pretty costly, I know.
It depends on the
I'm
time.
assuming this is not native,
Right.
just some little reading I'm doing, so I mean, it's an invasive,
Species.
yeah,
What do you need to kill it? Will 2,4-D do it, or do you need Roundup?
a chemical.
Also expensive right now.
Sure, but I mean, if it's gonna be Roundup, you're gonna kill everything.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Grass too.
That's the problem. If you mow it before it goes to seed, you do I talked to Mark Hodel about that. And if you mow it before it goes to seed, because I was concerned that they haven't mowed, and he said, we're in the process. So,
Okay.
and hence what is your comments, Ed, that they did a pretty good job of mowing it back.
They did a great job.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
So the
this
rest,
year was
is all scheduled and,
a huge year for it. And
Yeah.
I think it varies year to year, depending on
yeah, as long as what's out there now isn't going to seed, as long as we're getting it early enough that,
It does say 2,4-D. Well, I Googled it. Google, what does Google know? But it says 2,4-D does kill it.
well, that's good for anyone listening to know that they can kill it with 2,4-D if they don't
That's a
wanna
post-emergent.
go out there when it's cloudy out and pull it up by the roots. I've heard of people doing that, and I guess you can do that, but I'm going to pass on that option.
Yeah, I would not.
not a good, not
Oh, Roundup.
Roundup would take it also, 2,4-D, but you know what you're trying to, how much of the rest of the stuff you want to kill.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's really out there this year, and different years, it seems to be different levels.
Before it goes.
Well, Deanna, maybe you could just pass along our compliments on the job that they've done
Yeah,
and
Mark Hodel.
concern with the amount of it that's out there, and
Thank
they're
you.
probably on top of it, and hopefully Parks is on top of it too for their area.
I got something, Ed.
Yes, Raj?
I've been contacted by the Chief Morales to follow up on our last meeting that we had out at Four Winds. And if you recall, he made a statement at that time when we were talking about some of the traffic issues and other issues in the rural area that was kind of a concern with us, speeding and whatnot. And he talked about, wanting to talk to us about it and talk to the rural people about it. He has contacted Randy. Randy has contacted me. The chief is in process of contacting me. In fact, I've been gone for a week, so I've got to call him tomorrow. But he's asking if I could help him identify some people in the area for him to get to know. And at the same time, I'm sure that if you recall, there were several people in that audience that had some real distinct issues. As I recall, a lot of it was, when the school buses stopped and went by, there was speeding and some of those. And he would like to address that with our rural community. So what I'm thinking about is how to meet what he wants. And I'm thinking about that if I contact the people on this committee, and I'll call you and we'll make an appointment, and we come and visit with you. It's a place that I thought we could start with, because we all represent that area. But there are also some of the individuals at that meeting that I recall, and maybe you will too, that we want to make sure he meets. I haven't discussed with him, the time frame on this, or whether he'd give us more than one time to do it. But I do think it's really admirable for him to say, hey, wait a minute, I want to get to know the rural community. And he's making a definite effort. So I may be contacting you are you going to be home? Are you going to be around? we'd like to stop by. And then from there, we'll see where it goes and everything. So I just think it's
I know
a
he
great,
has reached out to a couple of my neighbors.
yeah,
And I know he's been in the community and reached out personally to some of the people on Burn Road.
yeah.
He stopped and talked to some of them, so he is really doing a great job of trying to solve that. He just said that he doesn't have the staff to put, they'll try to do the best they can, but they didn't have the staff to address the speeding on Burn Road, which was one of the things that was brought up.
Yeah, I can imagine Bern and Cyene are big cut-through roads. We don't, on Kane Road and my stretch of Wayland, we really don't see that level of speeding. Yeah, every now and then someone comes by a little fast, but it's not bad.
Burn and Irish, you see
Irish,
quite a
yep.
bit.
Yep. Okay.
Seminole
Stretch.
is extremely busy,
Seminole?
with Sub-Zero Wolf and Omega and the different shifts.
That's not gonna change.
Yeah, it's just crazy trying to even pull out of the driveway when it's a change in the shift or something.
Yeah, but Scott, if he's got anything.
Scott, we haven't heard from you tonight. Anything that you wanted to say? I guess I didn't even realize you were in the meeting, but sorry about that.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Been here since the beginning. No, I mean, I think it's great that the chief's reaching out, and I think there's a lot of valuable information you can gather, and it says a lot that he's wanting to include the rural folks.
If anyone's speeding on M, you'll take care of that, right?
Yeah, I've got that covered. I got a couple friends that like to sit in the driveway.
Good. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have one, as long as we're on non-agenda items.
We don't want to get too specific about, right, just make sure the things that we don't really need to do a public notice of.
No, just, at that last meeting when the city administrator, Chad Breckman, said that they were gonna do the roundabout at Lacey and Seminole. And then the work on Lacey, all the way over to Fitchburg and that intersection, and have it done before the school starts up in the fall.
Yeah, nothing's.
I haven't seen much starting other than a little marking for utilities. I was just curious if anybody heard any updates on that.
Randy?
Oh, you want to put me on the spot, huh? Chad Brecklin's really the best person to ask, but from my understanding, there's some road right-of-way and easement that they're still trying to acquire on Lacey.
Right.
And then, of course, they don't want to start the construction during the school year when school's starting. And it just makes more sense that the roundabout and that stretch of Lacey be completed at the same time, because once they start that work, you don't want to shut it down for the roundabout and then come back another time, open the roundabout, then shut down Lacey. I mean, my understanding is they want to shut it all down at once, do the work, and get out of there.
Yeah, I kind of had that vision that
Yeah.
it wasn't going to go.
Yeah, my understanding is that it'll go first part of next year, the spring.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
I believe it's been pushed back, that's what I was told.
Yeah, the clearing of trees, my understanding will start this fall, though.
We'll start this fall.
That's my understanding.
Some of the work.
And
I
the
suppose.
utilities,
Utilities, yeah.
you'll see the utilities will always go first.
Yeah, I seen a lot of markings out there for
Yeah.
utilities.
The utilities, on a project like that, your utilities have got to get out of everybody's way.
Oh, yeah.
So they're one of the first things you're going to see.
So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just hope that Seminole Highway holds up with the truck traffic.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's just like
Yeah.
wheel tracks. It's starting to look more like an asphalt path.
Yeah, I mean, we have a number of roads like that, Fitchburg Road, and that's an issue as well. So,
Yeah, that's another thing, when I was talking to Jim Wheeler, our other alder, he said that they're working on a grant for,
Yeah. We have some grant money from my understanding, from the roundabout to the north down to Lacey, but that road really needs to be
Well,
completed further south as well.
yeah, he was talking about Grand View.
Yeah,
Even.
further south. Actually, it really needs to go to Wayland.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're aware
All
of
the way
that.
to
We're
Wayland
aware
is
of that.
pretty rough.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There
Okay.
should- There should be a lot of infrastructure money out there that
Yeah, right.
we can only hope.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do we have a department report?
I will introduce myself. I'm Deanna Schmidt. Didn't know all of you until today. I am the city planner who started last January. We do have good news that we do have an accepted offer for the community development planner. So Brad will be starting in mid-August, and he will be the staff consultant for you all for this committee.
Great.
I'll be here. And if there are any questions or comments or anything that I can help out with, please reach out to me.
Thanks, Jana. Sorry we didn't do the introduction sooner. I guess I hadn't realized we hadn't had a meeting since you started, but it's been a while since we met, yeah. All right. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you.